Coyote. I think you guys are trolling me. Because I just realized neither of you had been in my stream for like, I don't know, the past like 4 or 5. And then you're both here today. It's quite the coincidence. I think there's something to this. You guys are literally always here together within the same like 10-minute time period. I think you're trolling me, but I don't know what the benefit is for you or why that would be funny. Sam says, yes, next month. Oh, it's next month? Why did I think it? Oh, I know. I thought we were in October already. I get my months mixed up. It's going to be years soon. This whole not having a job thing really makes you not care about what day or month it is. I tell Peanut Butter all the time, I'm like, I hope you're like keeping track of my age, because I'm not going to know how old I am very soon. I forget it though. Sammy says, I'm pumped and the diet will be thrown viciously out of the window. Yeah, you gotta have, for special occasions like that, you gotta. That's like, I was so good. I was like, when we went on our honeymoon to Japan, I was like doing very good on keto, like going very strong for a long time. But I totally threw it out the door the whole time we were in Japan, because like, they're just some once in a lifetime kind of things that you gotta fully experience, you know? I guess Harry Potter World isn't really once in a lifetime, but it's definitely like once a year, maybe. Coyote says, I was working on my tan and muscles last week at my cottage. I got 1 bar of signal. Working on my tan and muscles last week up at my cottage. I'm just picturing that sentence. You were working out in the front yard of your cottage, I'm assuming. That's how you get muscles and tan at the same time. I got 1 bar of signal if I was lucky. Just saying, I'm suspicious of you and Spike. I think something's up there. Something's going on. That's pretty cool though, getting a little like break from society. I wouldn't mind not having signal and not having people be able to find me for a week or so. A couple years. Oh, shifting 100-pound plus maple logs by hand? You can lift 100 pounds? More than that? Peanut Butter, how much can you lift? I don't know how, like, what is impressive. As a woman, anything over, like, 60 pounds is, like, I couldn't lift it. But as a man, I don't know if, like, 100's, like, no big deal. I guess Peanut Butter can lift me up, and I'm, like, around, like, 140? I don't weigh myself very often, but I think... So I guess that's not that impressive. I'm sure it looked very impressive, Coyote. I am impressed. What were you doing with them logs? Are you building another cottage? Now I'm trying to do the math in my head and think of how much I could actually lift. Like one of those, the biggest plate at our gym is 45. And I could definitely lift 2 of them. So maybe I could actually lift 100 pounds. It wouldn't be easy. And I definitely couldn't like throw it around. But I could probably lift it. I don't think I could do 3 45s though. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not over my head, Coyote says, but lift to my waist and then walk for 20 to 30 feet. Splitting firewood? That's a lot of firewood. Wasn't there a smaller tree you could use? That's cool though. I have like thoughts in my head about like living in like the middle of nowhere with like without like modern technology. I think it'd actually be a really healthy, cool, like good for you lifestyle. Like if you just lived in a cabin in the woods and didn't have electricity or social media or anything, but as long as you had something you really enjoyed doing, like for me, like if I could just do glass in the middle of the woods and I'd have peanut butter, his happiness is irrelevant in this scenario. If I had him and glass, I don't think I would need anything else. And like being able to like hunt for yourself and like fish for yourself and like build your own extra shelter if you needed like a shed or something, like be able to build it. I think that'd be, I think that's like how humans are supposed to live, you know? I think we've gotten really far away from that. But then again, like I could always turn into Ted Kaczynski. That's also like super likely. So I probably shouldn't experiment too seriously with that because I could see that happening. I wouldn't get caught though, you know. That'd be the difference. I should say for the record, I have no intention of ever harming another human. I feel like I have to say that. Just jokes, people. I'm meant to laugh so loud. Coyote says, no, you want the big logs. I had no idea there were such requirements. The big logs make the bigger fires, maybe. The better fires. Coyote says, I can live off-grid, solar only. Really don't want to live without gas-powered toys like chainsaws, log splitters, generators. Hand-sawing 16-inch maple logs is a ghastly thought. I'm trying to think of how I would chop down a 16-inch maple log without like a chainsaw. Can't you just hack at it with an axe? That's what the lumberjacks in the cartoons do. The idea of like just being able to live off grid though is quite comforting. Just like I try not to get too dark and like share my constant apocalyptic thoughts here because I want this to be a happy place, but like I think a lot about like how close we are as a society to like just like if the grid goes down, like how fucked everyone would be. Like I fully believe society would crumble and everyone would start murdering each other within like 2 weeks if like everyone lost all kinds of power. So just the idea of not having to depend on that like in an apocalyptic scenario is cool. But you'd have to be in the middle of nowhere. Like that wouldn't work. That's not a good strategy if you're in a neighborhood and you can go off grid because then obviously all your neighbors will just murder you for your stuff. So your off grid getaway has to be in a secret location. Mystic. Peanut Butter says that I would not be a good partner to have in the apocalypse. And he's insane. I would be the best. Like we've had like such serious debates. I take it so seriously that I need to like convince him how amazing of a partner I would be. Because I believe in my heart that I would be such a survivor, so good. And for whatever reason, he can't see it. I'd be so good though. I'm so crafty. I'm innovative. I could come up with tools. I'm strong enough that I could probably use most of the tools. And I have just a touch of like emotionless sociopath in me. So if shit got real, you know, I wouldn't let emotions get in the way. And that's really important in the apocalypse. Sam says he would at least be able to outrun everyone. Incorrect, Sam. I do long distance running, not sprinting, so probably incorrect. If someone was chasing me to kill me, I do not believe I could necessarily outrun them. Don't give me credit for being a sprinter. That I am not. Get easy. From miles away. Sam says I have just a touch of emotional sociopath. Just enough to do well in an apocalypse is all I'm saying. And also I don't look that way. So if I had to like deceive someone into thinking I wasn't a threat, it'd be very easy to do. Which again, huge skill to have in the apocalypse. Very important. Kelly says I'm laughing at your seriousness about this. Do you think I wouldn't be a good partner, Kelly? Are you on peanut butter's side here? Because you guys are kind of making me want the apocalypse, if that's the case, because I gotta be able to prove it. I would love if there was like, I don't even know what it would be called. But like, you know how they have like, actually I don't even know what to compare this to. I would love if there was like a place you could pay to give you an apocalyptic, an apocalyptic experience. You know, like it's like an amusement park basically or whatever. Like you pay them $200, $300 to go, and it's basically like an island with like nothing on it except for like zombies or something. But like obviously they'd have to be like robotic because you'd have to like be able to fight with them and kill them, so it couldn't be like real actors, but like some sort of like simulated monsters that are trying to get you. And like again, like no electricity, no running water, none of that, and you just go there and it's like a game. Like you have to survive. And you can tap out, like there's some word or phrase or whatever, where you can tap out if like you're gonna die. But that'd be like, I could prove it in a safe environment. If something like that existed, and please someone tell me if it does, I would do that in a second. I mean, the zombie things would have to, I don't know, I would have to be very confident that they wouldn't actually kill me. And I don't know if I trust I don't know if I trust today's technology on that front yet. So maybe I wouldn't do it. But if I could have that guarantee. And you could do it like with like, it could be like a game, like you and all your friends go. Because you're all like, let's see who's like able to survive the best. And your little pussy ass friends would tap out like the first day. Oh my god, I would love it. But the message in between. Green smoke to black. I just like challenges, you know? I like things that are really hard to do. And I feel like that is like the ultimate challenge. Like surviving in the wild with like a predator. Like what could be more badass than that? What's harder than that? Sam says, let me rephrase that then. You could persistence run your target to ground. Oh, you were thinking like if I was chasing, I was thinking someone chasing me. But if I was chasing someone, then absolutely. That's why I would be such a good Apocalypse team member. Because I could catch people if I had to. I could wear him down. Green smoke to black. Kelly says, I mean, I guess I haven't thought about it that much. LOL, I'm sure you would be adequate. You gotta spend more time thinking about the apocalypse, Kelly, and whether Todd would be a good partner or not, and all your neighbors. Which neighbors you'd want to have on your team versus which you'd target. I'm just kidding. I don't think about targeting my neighbors, but I do think about which ones I would like go to and be like, hey, do you want to form an alliance? Kelly says, maybe you should start this amusement park. Maybe you'll see me on Shark Tank one day, Kelly. And getting like arrested immediately after. Like I leave the show and there's cops there and they're like, they called us because the level of sociopathy you just demonstrated has us thinking you're a menace to society and you can't be on the streets. Riss. Katie said, this is an interesting answer about what would happen if the internet went down, broken out by minute, hour, day, week, month. Oh, this is like a lot. This seems like the most depressing, scary thing ever. "10 years later, internet service is back for everyone. Apparently it would take us 10 years to get through it. This thing is talking about crypto? When was this written? This is so scary. If anyone has time to read that and is interested in that, it looks like very good. But I don't know if I could read. I think it might make me even more like anxious about the world than I already am, which might not be good for my mental health and my sociopathic tendencies. It's interesting though. Liz loves dogs. I love dogs too, Liz. Thank you for the follow. You seem like a chill person, a fellow dog lover. When you're living like this. This. Kelly says, I mean, kind of like Hunger Games. That's actually what I was thinking of. When I was thinking of the right like word to use, I was thinking of saying Hunger Games, but I was like, well, that was more of like a forced slavery scenario, so maybe amusement park is more fitting, but 100%. I've actually thought, I feel like I should stop talking about this subject because it's going to make people unfollow me because they are going to think I'm like a serial killer or something. Look at me. I couldn't be a serial killer. I'm not a threat. But I've thought before, I'm like, we really should have the Hunger Games, but like the people that volunteer. Like we're a capitalist society that's all about like bringing in money and like doing dumb shit, possibly immoral shit for entertainment to bring in money. Like it's not like we don't do that already. And like the entire world would watch that, every second of it. If you had to pay, I don't know, like $1,000 to watch it, people would save up. People would use their life savings to watch that. Like, can you imagine? People like out in the wild fucking fighting for their lives against like all kinds of shit. And the whole idea that you can like pick someone to like sponsor and like send them a gift or something. People would love that. And like, how bad would it be? Like, if you're volunteering for it, as long as you're not forcing anyone to do it, and like people sign all the right shit that says like, if I die, I die. Because you know people would do that. Look at these like TikTok influencers. You're telling me that like half of them wouldn't willingly go to their death just to get like a bunch of attention? I'm sure they would. They would not be entertaining to watch though. Like you'd want the real athletes to do it. But there's definitely enough of them that would sign up too, like the legitimate people, because they would think they were so tough that they could like survive anything and they'd want to prove that. So yeah, I'm a proponent of making the Hunger Games a real thing. Just again, cannot emphasize enough, not forced volunteer style Hunger Games. Because, right, I don't think it's that bad. I think if people are volunteering and they're aware of the consequences, why not do it? Hi, Liz. I try, LOL. My boyfriend and I moved to Belize and adopted 4 dogs. A couple are handy-capable, and the others are additional rescues. Oh my goodness. Good for you guys. What kinds are they? That's so sweet. And Belize, you moved there from America? Belmopan, Belize. Belmopan, Belize. We learned some song in like elementary school about like all the capitals of the like Spanish speaking countries, and Belmopan, Belize was definitely like a lyric that just came to my mind. Coyote says MMA, boxing, rugby, American football are all violence as a sport. Billions upon billions of revenue. That's what I'm saying. People clearly want to see violence and want to participate in violence and want to pay to do both. So why not just do it? As soon as we have, whoa, this is an idea. As soon as we have VR, like really good VR, We gotta do that. If someone isn't building that right now, they should be. If anyone out there is a VR developer, I'll give you the idea. You can, I obviously can't do it. I don't have that skill set. But make the Hunger Games in VR. You will for sure be a billionaire with that idea. Sam loves Belize. Sam says, I spent a month in San Ignacio and a week on Caye Caulker. Liz says they're all mixes. And Belmopan is where a couple of our dogs came from, actually. Ah, interesting. Liz says, I live in the southernmost part on a peninsula that is about an inch away from being an island. Wow. Sam says it was for an archaeology field school, and I worked at Zunatunik? Sam says that sounds, or no, Liz says that sounds super interesting. Were you researching anything with the Mayan culture? Don't waste it. Liz says, I love it, but being a crafter, I crave being able to get supplies. What do you craft? Do you craft glasswork, Liz? It seems like specifically for glasswork, there are a lot of materials that people in other countries have a really hard time getting a hold of. Like lead, this lead that I'm using to wrap the petals, for sure seems like very hard to find in other countries. Some places it's actually like illegal for them to have it. Like we have a viewer from Finland in here sometimes. I'm pretty sure she mentioned that it's like against the law to like buy it as a normal person. I think like patina is another thing that people have a tough time getting a hold of. My feet and staggering. Sick. Another night, another score. Bacon. Second floor. So many times, let's face it. Bella, won't you take me home? Sam says, I was excavating an area just outside of the main plaza and was most interested in burials. But since it was field school, I toured around the different specialties. I forget that you were Lara Croft Tomb Raider for a while, Sam. I forget that about you. It is very cool, though. Ancient ruins are so interesting, like the Mayans and the Aztecs, especially when you like the weird things that we can't explain, like about how they I don't know which culture it was, but like one of them was able to like perfectly map out like the stars and the constellations and stuff down to like amazingly precise measurements that like we were like only recently capable of doing with our technology. And it's things like that that are like so interesting to think about. Like how, like what was the deal there? And there's more, like I think like some of the structures they built as well, they just like shouldn't have been able to. Or like specifically in those structures, I think a lot of them were very geometric, like perfectly straight lines. Like very large, long, perfectly straight lines, which is like very difficult for us to do now. So the fact that they were able to do that is like a little mind-boggling. Take me home. The best in places. When I'm gone to the bathroom floor. Liz says, resin, jewelry, cry cut stuff. Right now I'm working on home good items because we are doing our place. Oh, to put on Airbnb. Oh. Wow, that's super convenient to have the skills to be able to like decorate your home and make it all snazzy. Wait, so what are you doing if you're putting your place on Airbnb? Also, that's really cool work that you do. I've done a little bit of resin work, and that's really fun to play with, but it's like it's harder than you'd expect, and it's so messy. That's cool, though. Liz says, I love Tomb Raider. It was my first Twitch name, Liz Crofts. Oh my gosh. I had the game for PlayStation back when I was in, like, middle school. And I remember it was so hard. I just have a vision of her being impaled on spikes over and over, and I just always die. I like the Xbox games they have now. Tomb Raider games. And the movies are cool. I typically prefer movies that make you think a little bit more than just like blind action, but as far as like silly action movies go, they ain't bad. More like Lara Croft, am I right? Sam B, that was such a good one. That was such a good one. Liz, I think you might have to change your handle. I think Sam B just gave you a real winner. That was so good, Sam. I think this has to come in a little bit more. Liz says, right now I'm not streaming because all this remodel stuff is just too much. Yeah, if your setup is being interrupted or there's like a lot going on, I'm sure that would be difficult to stream alongside. Wait, but are you guys moving to a different house? You're keeping the house that you're in, but you're putting out Airbnb and then you're moving somewhere else? Or you're staying in your house and having people like come stay with you in the house in like a different room? Is that, what are you doing? Doing it up like Midas. So dumb. Liz says, LOL, I love it. I used to call it crafty craft time. Sam's got to go make some calls. Sam has to work. Oh, we live above 4 apartments. Oh. I ask myself that every day, JK, but so long story short, we bought a house that sits above 4 rental apartments, and back in the day, it was a brothel, and then a hostel, and then a rental, and we were trying to put love and life back into it. Oh, that sounds really smart. Like, why wouldn't you? If you aren't, like, currently living in them, like, you're not using them. Why not? And also, I don't know if Belize is like a vacation spot, but if it is, then I gotta assume you're gonna be able to make like really good money with it. So it's probably like a lot of work and money and time and everything to like renovate it and make it nice, but should be worth it in the end. Maybe not now because of, I think COVID has like killed everyone's travel plans for a while, but hopefully when we get that all sorted out, you'll get a lot of tourists. Trust me. The previous owners let it go for like 10 years after the wife died, so a lot of it is just putting love into it to make it an income producing thing again. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to take a lot of work, but hopefully be worth it. I don't know how I would feel about like one, having strangers that close to me like all the time, like different strangers all the time. And two, like, dealing with people that much. I don't know how I would enjoy that. Like, I don't know how the average Airbnb customer is, you know? Like, I don't know if they're, like, really needy or, like, messy. I have no idea. But I would be concerned about that. But I guess it also depends on the money it was bringing in. Like, I'd be willing to deal with a lot more for more money, you know? With the music I die, take my mind. If you have handy skills to be able, like, that's something as I became a homeowner, and the more I like have to deal with like being a homeowner, the more valuable I see like being able, like the skills of being able to like fix up a home. Like just being able to like, I don't know, like repair a door or a window, or like understand how the inner mechanisms of like a dishwasher or a washing machine work, and being able to like fix those problems. It would just save you so much money over your lifetime. It's like all the time, like something will go wrong in our house and we'll have to pay someone like $300 or $400 to fix it. And I'm like, what did that person even do? Like, there's no way whatever they did was worth that amount of money. Take my life. My mind. Do we party with the music I die? do we party with the music I die? I posted a picture of my cacti planter on Instagram, and looks like someone commented on it saying like, woo for Mexico. I'm like, what? What does my cactus have to do with Mexico exactly? Did I accidentally just make some Mexican fan art? People can be weird, yo. Don't always understand what they're trying to tell me. Liz says, how did you get into glass art? My dad did it as a hobby when I was growing up. He still does it. So I've like always like been aware of it and around it. But I didn't seriously like try it myself until maybe like 2015 or 2016, somewhere around there. And then once I started trying it, I just really fell in love with it. And now it's my job. Or as I like to say, I don't have a job anymore because I don't consider this to be work. Bush for life. I'm pushing it right. Hey girl, tonight I would name her rock and roll. I feel like stained glass is like it's so common for glass workers to have a family member that did stained glass. That's like the #1 way people get into stained glass because it's such like a weird or like a rare hobby. Like you don't really come across it that often. So I guess a lot of people just like don't know about it unless someone they're close to already knows about it, you know? It's definitely picking up more popularity on like social media though. There's so many more glass artists that I see on Instagram than I did when I first made my glass account years ago. If shit don't fall in my hand, how to steal. Sam says, all of a sudden I am having some great fall Halloween design ideas. I'm doodling them on Post-it notes. Yay! It's my creative energy. I'm channeling it. I think you've said that, and I feel the same way. It's like when you watch someone else create something, it inspires you to also create. I think you said you feel that way. Sam says, my mom taught me. My friend Leah's grandmother taught her. Yeah, it's like a weird like generational passing down thing. But I also really like it more for that reason. Like I don't love doing like things that a bunch of other people are doing. I find it much more interesting to do things that like the right answer isn't always known. Like because there are so few glass artists, there are like a bunch of different ways to do everything, and like there's really no like right answer. So a lot of it is like you learning on your own, which I really enjoy. And obviously the other like selfish part of that is like it's easier to stand out when there aren't, 10,000 other people doing the same shit. Rock and roll. Rock and roll. I push my feet into the light. I can lift you up. Liz says, that's so cool. I'm super jelly you're able to make it into a business too. I mean, it took a lot of work, and I will say I like heavily depend on my husband and his salary and his like health insurance and benefits. Like, I've talked about it before. The point I'm at now, I could afford to live on my own and pay my bills if I were in like a small apartment. But I definitely couldn't afford to like pay our mortgage and like our vet bills and my own health insurance and all that. I could not afford to do that with my business alone right now at this point. I think I'll get there someday. I'm confident that I will, because it's been like a slow uphill climb. Like I do a little better every year. So I'm confident I'll be able to make it happen, but I'm just trying to say, don't be too impressed. Don't think I'm out here like caking. One day. But the important thing is I am doing what I love, and I'm so incredibly happy. And that's what matters most in life, I've come to find. And even though my husband bears more of the financial responsibility now, he tells me like all the time, he's like, I'm so glad that you went full time, because like you are so like a better person to be around. Not that I was like a horrible bitch before, but just like I'm never stressed. I'm never upset about anything anymore. I don't think the husband and I have had like a serious fight since I went full time, like even like a minor like real disagreement. Not that we fought a lot before, but like it's just been really good for like every aspect of my life. Bum, 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 bum. Samby says, it's true. When I surround myself with other creative energy, mine starts to flow in response. Yeah, I think that's totally like a thing with creatives. Which is why I get so mad at people who copy and steal designs. Because I'm like, you are so not a true artist if like you see something beautiful being created and your first instinct is to steal it instead of being inspired yourself. Such despicable behavior. How dare you call yourself an artist? So crazy. Too many times. Nobody else. Nobody else. For myself. 1. 3. For him. Bum, bum, bum. Sam says, I love designing my own stuff. It makes me so proud. Right? Me too. And I so enjoy the journey of like improving upon a design. I don't know if you've been at it long enough to like get to that point, Sam, but like it's so rewarding to like make a design that you're super proud of and you love it, and then you come back to it like 2 years later after you've like grown and learned so much, and you like take that same design and revamp it and make it so much better, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like now I'm like 100 times more proud than I was when I first made it. It's like a whole, like each design is like a little journey, you know? And the cool thing is that it's like never ending. Like I'm really happy with a lot of my designs now, but I'm sure that 3, 4, 5 years from now, I'll look at them and have a bunch of improvements. Sam says, I'm actually thinking about selling some designs on Etsy. Yeah, because I can design faster than I can actually make them. It would bring in some revenue. Sam, would love if you did that. One, you would definitely make some extra side cash. Two, you would discourage people from stealing designs because you'd be giving them lovely free designs that they can use so they don't have to steal. And you'd probably just expand your popularity and following by putting them out there, you know? Definitely do it. I have no idea how you would price a design. Like I'll never do that just because my designs they're too personal. So I've never thought about like how you would price it. I don't know how you judge the value of a design. Possibly, I just want you to know that. And then you could put them in like a book, Sam, and be like a published author. I mean, of a pattern book, but still, you could do it. Got somebody sexy telling me. Give me everything tonight. To the bite, perform for a princess, but tonight. Sam says, because I know some people don't want to bother, don't have the skills I do. I would rather they buy the design from me than steal my stuff too. It's exactly what I was thinking. Give those disgusting copycats some legal designs to work off of. If I could, tonight. 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 Everything tonight. Might not get tomorrow. On a Tuesday. I'm looking forward to redesigning my very first project ever someday. What was your first one? Sexy telling, hey, everything tonight. You love where I'm going with this? A published graphic author? Me? It would be glorious. Yeah, you gotta think big, Sam. Gotta think big. You could do it. And there aren't a lot of stained glass designs out there. Like, I don't know if you've ever Googled any. Like, I've Googled them just out of curiosity because people steal so much. So, like, one time I just sat down and I was like, okay, let me see, like, actually how hard it is to find a good design that you can buy. Like, I gotta know what is wrong with these people that are going around stealing art left and right. And it actually, not that this makes it okay to steal art at all, but it actually is really hard to find a lot of good stained glass patterns. Or books or like anything. Like they're out there, but especially with like specific things, like I feel like there's a lot that are like flowers or like seasonal things like pumpkins and Christmas trees. But if you want to find a design for like a dragon or like, I don't know, really anything like specific and like kind of weird, not even weird, just like not super typical, it's, at least I had a lot of trouble finding them. So definitely make whatever designs you want, but I do think there's a real need for like more non-traditional designs out there. But if you just want to make pumpkins or whatever, that's cool too. The world will appreciate whatever you give it. Excuse me, I might think a little more than I should tonight. 'Cause I'm good to go. You met me at the terminal. Sam says, I did a daffodil suncatcher. It's in the window in my back door, so every time I go to the shed in the back, I see it. That's nice. You're reminded of where you started. I have a couple pieces like that in here, but honestly, I don't like looking at them. Because I'm like, that was trash. I should be ashamed of myself for being so bad. When the proper way to look at it is, wow, look how far I've come. I should be so proud. My stupid head never has that thought. Pilot, can you help me? Can you make it last? It looks like most of the patterns on Etsy range from 5 to 10. Seems kind of low, but a lot of them are small and simple. Yeah, I was gonna say it should definitely depend on the complexity of the design. Like maybe go based on like piece number. Maybe something with like 10 pieces or less goes for like between 5 and 10. And then it goes up by like $1 for like every group of 3 or 4 pieces after that. I don't know. Some kind of model like that, I would think, would maybe be good. But yeah, for whatever reason, I think a lot of like the really talented glass artists out there aren't interested in selling their patterns, and it creates this like lack of good patterns for sale, unfortunately. It's the only Sunday. I actually have a bunch of pattern books I inherited from my dad. I've never used them, but I look at them sometimes. More just like out of like, I don't know, curiosity than like functional use. Because a lot of them are really old, so it's like interesting to see and read about like how the craft used to be. Like the most interesting thing I ever read in one of them was like instead of grinding on a machine, use your grozing pliers to get it to shape. Because I think it was written before like grinders were invented or something. And just the thought of only using grozing pliers to make a decent shape like blew my mind. Like it'd be so hard to get a really smooth curve doing that. Liz says, I have that problem as well. I have to be careful about what I make and then show, because if I don't like it, my boyfriend will put it on the fridge or around our house anyway, and I just want to trash it. Aw, what a supportive boyfriend. He's like a proud parent hanging your art on the fridge. But yeah, I feel that sentimentality so hard. Sentiment. Okay, this song played at the start of my stream. How is that possible? Oh, because I deleted a song and then I started over. Never mind. I was going to call iTunes out for not shuffling properly. Liz says, so I'm looking at your shop and the doggy. Oh, stained glass pieces make my heart melt. The pet portrait ones. Those are always really sweet to work on. I get a bunch of pictures of the person's dog and I make them tell me their doggy's name so I can think about how cute it is as I work on it. It's funny because like I can name like every pet portrait I've done. I know the pet's name, like what breed it was, like little details about it that I've got from the owner, like every single one. But if I had to remember like 10 of my customers, my person customers, I probably couldn't. Just another one of my slight sociopathic tendencies that I might care more about animals than I do people. Sam says, I see a lot of patterns with tricky or complex cuts that almost require a ring saw. When I design, I carefully consider the size and difficulty of the cuts. That's a good point too. Maybe people buy patterns and they don't even realize that like they might need a tool that they don't have. I wouldn't have thought about that. Because I can only make those cuts when I'm at my mom's house and can use her ring saw. And you could probably charge more for anything that had like a ring saw cut in it, right? Oh, my mom wants Liz to see Mr. Milkshakes. We'll find him. Hold on, Liz. You'll like Mr. Milkshakes, hopefully. Come here, buddy. Oh, there's two. Do you want to come too, Luna? Here. Can you come up? Can you come up? There we go. Look at this little milkshake boy, Liz. Look at this milkshake boy. And there's another tiny one on the floor, but she won't come up like this. She's not my milkshake boy like you. I know. Oh, go chase her. That was Mr. Milkshakes and Luna Bean. That's it. I know. I know. I know. I'll be done soon. I'll come play fetch with you, okay? Would you like that? Yes, you would like that. I'll be out soon, okay? I'll be out soon. That's it. I don't know. That's it. Now I'm going to have to end my stream after I finish grinding this leaf because I feel bad that Mr. Milkshakes wants to play and I'm ignoring him. Precious. Liz likes him. Liz likes the milkshake boy. Who doesn't like a milkshake boy? Golden retrievers are, I've said this on stream so many times, but like golden retrievers are like a different species. Like I've had dogs my whole life and I love all kinds of dogs, but when we got this golden, oh my god, he's like so much smarter and sweeter and just like different than other dogs. So I think I might be sold on only having Goldens from now on. Oh, I'm sorry. Now Peanut Butter just yelled at me for keeping the door open and being loud. He's on work calls. It was worth it. Sam says, and hinge points. I see some hinges. In the patterns you do? I wonder how many of these people actually have experience making stained glass. Well, I see a lot of people making glass with hinge points, so I would assume they probably do make glass, they just make it badly. Vinegar. And it fucking hurts. It's like stiffler. Release. Mortal Kombat finish her. Hinge points and attachment points, like just where you attach your jump ring or your hook to on the glass. Dude, I see like experienced artists whose work I like mostly admire. I see some of them putting their jump rings at a spot you shouldn't. And I'm like, how does everyone not realize that this is not okay to do? Like, you can't put your jump ring at a place where there's no solder seam. It has to be at a solder seam. And if it's not, you can get around it by like some, in my design, some of mine, I'll like attach a wire from the point to a solder seam. Like, that's one way you can get around it. If I had to be creative, I could probably think of a few other ones. But like, that's a big one that I see a lot that always makes me nervous and like a little shocked when I see people that I think should know better doing it. Live like this. They never drunk, they never want to hang out late. They're gonna get old and gray. I want to stay young. I want to have fun. So if that's okay, I don't think I'm ever gonna act my age. It's okay. Gonna get old and gray. I wanna have fun. Gonna act my age. Sam says, true, it was a hard lesson to learn, but it only took one piece falling apart for me to be paranoid about it. Same, yeah. I also learned the hard way. But I think that's the best way to learn because, like, since you put all the effort into it, and you were probably very sad when it fell apart, you're never going to make that mistake again. Whereas, like, if you had just read about that in an instruction book, you might not retain the information because for whatever reason, you know. But if it happens to you, you're gonna remember it. And there's another reason I like to learn things on my own instead of like getting taught or reading a book about it. I just feel like you learn better from experience. But like the sneaky thing about hinge points, or not hinge points, incorrect attachment points, I don't know if there's like a name for that, is like if you're using lead, it might not be a problem for like many years. Because it takes a long time for lead to pull away and stretch. So like people could get away with it and they might not ever know. Like if they're selling all their pieces and they don't keep anything in their house, you could make a piece with a shitty attachment point that's gonna pull away like 5 years from now, and you would just never know it. Unless your customer emailed you 5 years later and was like, hey, this fell apart, but I kind of don't think most people would do that. But I learned the hinge points lesson very early on. I don't know if I ever learned that myself. I don't know if I ever had a design. Actually, no, I did. My second or third, the mermaid piece where she was on a rock had that. So I did learn it. Let's go. Oops, I just flipped these around in my hands, and now I don't know which one I had to let around. Bay of Pigs invasion. British Beatlemania. This one had the Sharpie dots on it, I remember. Start the fire. There we go. Start the fire. But we tried to fight it. Punk rock. Terror on the airline. Russians in Afghanistan. Heavy metal suicide. Hey Sam, have you ever used Jack's patina? Sam says, I finished my piece. Showed it to my mom and she went, a hinge point. And I said, what? And then my plant stake pole ripped away from the glass. Like all at the same time? That's pretty amazing if it happened all at once like that. And no, I've only used the Nova can. I know it's out there, I just don't see many people use it. I just want to hear from someone who's used it. Start the fire. We didn't start the fire. I'm just so lucky I learned those lessons before I started selling my pieces. The one was a really close call. Like I learned about the jump ring attachment point, like I think literally like weeks before, or like I think I had listed that design on Etsy and it had been live for like a week or two, but I had one hanging in my house to like product test it and it broke as it was hanging, and luckily no one had bought it off Etsy yet. So I was able to pull it down and fix the design and then repost it. But like I'm very paranoid about that because that'd be so shitty to have to like email a customer and be like, I think there was a problem in that thing you bought. Like, and I would offer to give them a refund or give them a new one or whatever, but I feel like that would lose you a customer because they'd be like doubtful of your abilities after that. Oh, fuck. I just cut that like way too short. Maybe not. This is why I can't talk and stream. Talk and glass. The Pixie can only do one thing at a time. I don't like this. I don't know. This piece was just bad. This lead work was just... I know I'm trying. Be your lover. Sam says it really happened in like 5 minutes because she showed me the wiggle and handed it to me, and I tested it and it literally fell apart in my hands. Good thing your mom was around. That's awesome. What band is this song? This one right now is Sky Feria. I don't know if it's a band or just, I think it's just this girl. I can't say her name, so I typed it for you. She has a couple songs I really enjoy. To the door. Let me be your lover. Then I would not bother. Sam says I didn't bring my lunch to work today like a fool. And now I don't know where I want to go get lunch. Are you allowed to, you're doing your diet thing, so that restricts your options. Somewhere with a good salad option, maybe? Fuck it, just go home. You're not gonna work there anymore. Fuck it. Call it a day. I think you just call it a day, Sam, honestly. You've worked hard enough. It's over. What do they really need you there for? I had such ambitions of when I quit my job to just like drop the mic in a meeting one day, like wait until a meeting I was like really frustrated with and just be like, fuck it, I quit, and like literally quit. But I was too big of a coward to be like, I might need to go back. I might need to come crawling back one day. So I should do it nicely, through the proper avenues. Oh, but I wanted to so bad. I could do a lettuce-wrapped burger. Lettuce-wrapped cheeseburger with tomato. So good. You realize you don't need bread after you don't have it for like a few months? You don't need it. I've done nothing today. I've responded to a few emails. Good for you, Sam. If they gonna treat you bad, then you gonna give them bad work. But I guess it sounds like it's mostly Monique, so maybe that's unfair to give the entire company bad work. But it sounds like they're not being nice to other people, so maybe they deserve it. I don't know. I bear no responsibility, and I'm not giving you advice either way. Liz says it was fun hanging out, but I gotta go do stuff. Talk to you later. Go be productive, Liz. Thank you for stopping by. It was nice meeting you. I hope your Airbnb is a wild success. Sam says, I actually prefer my burgers lettuce wrapped. I feel like I can taste only bread usually. But the bread is, I think I agree, but the bread is like such a good part. Because I will acknowledge bread is like amazingly delicious, especially if it's like buttery and maybe garlicky. That tastes way better than burger, in my opinion. Ooh, put bacon on your burger. I forgot. Lettuce wrap burger with tomato and bacon and maybe like a blue cheese dressing. Are you going to lunch right now though, Sam? Because I think I'm gonna stop streaming anyway. Because I really feel bad about Mr. Milkshakes. He wanted to play so bad. He was excited. I think I have to go play with him. So if Liz is leaving and you're gonna go to lunch, then seems like a good time to stop streaming anyway. Yeah, you're gonna go soon. All right. Well, I'll be back on Thursday. I guess I'll solder and stem this up on Thursday and probably start on something else. I won't break my heart if you end. Yeah, I think I will. Thank you for hanging out as always, Sam. It's always really nice to have like a friendly face here most of the time. Fellow glassworker that I can talk to. I feel like I should mention to any subs I have, all my VODs, you can see all my past videos. If you go to the highlights section of my channel, you can see all my past videos. I have to put them in the highlight section because Twitch will delete them if I put them in any other section. So that's where they are. I feel like people don't know. So I should make a point to announce this more often. Sam says, I want to see you do the cactus. I was thinking about that, but I'm like, there are some things that like I do that I think I've invented the way to do it. Like I've never seen anyone else do it. And I kind of don't want to like put that technique out there. Not because I get like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I don't want other people to, I guess I don't want other people to do it. I don't know. It's like my design almost. Like I feel like I made it and I'm proud of it and I want to keep it. And I guess I don't want other people to do it. So I'm like hesitant to do a cactus because there's something about it that I think is like my IP, if that makes sense. I've never done a 3D on stream. I'm thinking if there's, I could do like a hummingbird though. Like I could do one of these guys. There's nothing secretive about him. I'll think about it, Sam. Something I could do. Okay, I'm gonna go play with Mr. Milkshakes. I appreciate you, Sam, and anyone else who is lurking out there like a sneakosaurus. Sam wants to know. Okay, well, at least do a hummingbird. Or maybe I can think of like another 3D design. We'll see.